We are saying the share very late today because via this morning, and we are holding Pesachim Baruch. Today is the share for the 6th day of the month of Mar Cheshvan Mar Cheshvan, and this is our fifth is our 100th shir learning. Amud 51 base, that's Nun Aleph Amud base of Maseches Pesachim. This is our 100th shir for our Chabur. Switched. Let's fix that. And we are back. Sorry about that. Okay. We are learning Daf Nun Aleph Amud base, but starting when we left off at the bottom of Nun Aleph Amud Aleph, the Gemara had been telling us a story of Rabbi Baruch that came from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, and he was eating a particular stomach fat of an animal, and the minhag in Bavel was to treat that as not kosher. And Abaya had told us that the reason that he was still allowed to eat that in Bavel is Amar Abaya Hani Mili mi Bavel Bavel mi Eretz Yisrael Inami mi Bavel Eretz Yisrael Eretz Yisrael Bavel Lo Kevin de Anan Kaifinan Lehu Avdin Kevasayim. Since we are kafir to them, we have to listen to what they say in Eretz Yisrael, meaning they're in charge. The Sabras are in charge of what goes on, meaning their minhag is primary. So even though we're machmir in Bavel, they don't have to follow our chumras. Amar Ravashi says, "Afilu Tim Eretz Yisrael Bavel." You could even say that the same is true from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel. Hani mile heiche de ein dat elachsa. It depends on whether or not you're planning on staying. Meaning, if you go from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, but you don't plan on staying, so then you'd be able to. Then, if you go from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, then you would need to be machmer. But Rabbi Rechana was planning on going back to Eretz Yisrael, and therefore he never needed to change his minhag. Amar le Rabbi Rechana le b'nei. It says Rabbi Rechana to his son, "B'nei, my son, lo soichel. I'm eating this stuff, but you lo soichel. You shouldn't eat this. Lo b'fanai v'lo shelo b'fanai. Not in front of me, and not in front of me. Meaning you're never allowed to eat this." Why? I saw Rabbi Yochanan eating this. Rabbi Yochanan is more than adequate for me to rely on, both in front of him, eating it with him, and even here in Babel. I'm allowed to eat this. I thought you never saw it. You should not eat this. Not in front of me and not in front of me. Meaning you're never allowed to eat this. Says the Gemara, hold up a second. This contradicts another statement of Rabbi Baruch himself. Rabbi Baruch says, Sachli Rabbi Yochanan ben Elazar. Said Rabbi Yochanan ben Elazar to me, Pam achas, once it happened, Nichnas Yachar Rabbi Shimon ben Rabbi Yossi ben Lekunya Legina. I once went with Rabbi Shimon, the son of Rabbi Yossi ben Lekunya, to a garden, turning on to Nun Aleph on base. Today's Amud. V'natal svichi kruv, and he took the leftovers of the cabbage. Now svichim are vegetables that grew on their own, usually after the harvest season is finished. So whatever seeds were left, a couple of veggies still grow there. That's called svichim. And this is during Shemitah. And we pointed out, we saw this in the Mishnah, we'll see this again a little later, that the din is that if there's still stuff growing in the field, then everybody's allowed to eat it. But if it's not growing in the field anymore, then you're not allowed to eat it. And so this was Shemitah, and Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Yosef ben Lekunya, took some of these svichim, another svichi kruv, and he ate them. V'nasan, and he gave to me. V'amarli, and he said, B'ni, my son, b'fanai echel, you can eat them in front of me. Shaloi b'fanai lo seichel, but you cannot eat them not in front of me. Ani shera isi Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai she'achal. I saw Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, He was eating them. Rabbi Shimon is more than enough of an authority to rely on. In front of him, not in front of him. I taught you, you eat them when you're with me. But you cannot eat them not in front of me. So, what does it sound like? Are you allowed to rely on the kulas of somebody that saw from the original Mekel? That's the question. You see that we have two statements of Rav Rechana that seem to be contradictory. So the Gemara wants to know, hold up a second. Within this opinion, my Rabbi Shimon, what exactly is this opinion of Rabbi Shimon? The time you have the Brisa says, Rabbi Shimon says called Svichin Asurim, that all of the Svichin are Asur, meaning all of these shrubberies that grow at the end of the season, they're all Asur, Chutz mi Svichin Kruv, except for cabbage, She'ein Kayotze Bahem Be'er Kasada, because nothing is like them with regards to the vegetables of the field, meaning because they're always there. They're always going to be there. Meaning that there's always seeds that are falling that, and therefore we're going to be able to be lenient with cabbages. And all of the leftover remnants that are going to be aser. Both of them rely on Rabbi Akiva's opinion. The Tanya, meaning both of them base themselves on Rabbi Akiva. The Tanya, Rabbi Akiva says, quoting the pasuk in Parshas Bahar, the question the Torah says, what will be if you will say in the Shemitah year, Hein lo nizra, behold, we cannot we cannot plant and we cannot gather our crops. Says the pasuk, Rabbi Akiva says, since you are not planting, where are you going to gather anything from? Mikan is svichin. From here, what do you learn? That svichin are also. Meaning, if you're not, we're not planting and we're not gathering, means that there are things that we're not planted but are still there. They're not there. So what are we going to be? But they're there, but you're not allowed to eat them. Mikan l'svichin she'en asurim, these svichin that grow at the end of the harvest season, they grow by themselves once everything else has been collected, that those things are awesome. But so now what's the machlokes? The Rabbanan hold gazrin and svicha kruvat shar svicha da'alma. The Rabbanan hold that we have a gzerim in the Rabbanan not to eat svicha kruv because of the other svichin. Because maybe people are going to get confused. Rabbi Shimon holds that we give you mekel, that svicha kruv you are allowed to eat. We're not worried about the rest. Rashi points out the afal gav the ein bir lekruv, even though daraisa from the Slim of Rabbi Akiva, there's no need to ever get rid of cabbages. The ham is kaim kol yimais haksham because they're always there. The svichin the day asurim, the svichin are still going to be asur. Because the reason that people are going to think that you're allowed to eat cabbages is because svichin are mutar, that these aftergrowths at the end of the season, that they are all mutar, and that is not true. And the Gemara doesn't seem to answer the contradiction of these two statements of Rabbi Rechana. Meaning, Rabbi Rechana said two contradictory statements, and we have no resolution. At least Adkan. And then the Gemara moves on to the din of the Mishnah. The person goes from one place to going to another place. And the Gemara, with regards to the Malacha, says the Gemara, it makes good sense if you are going from a place that does work on Erev Pesach to a place that doesn't do work on Erev Pesach. That when you get there, you're not allowed to do malacha, even though at home you would do malacha. And you shouldn't change from the minhag hamakom because you're going to make machlokes. And therefore you shouldn't go to work. But if you usually, if your hometown they don't do malacha, and then you go to a place that they do malacha, what do you mean? You shouldn't change from the local custom. V'navin, let him work. What's the problem? What would the machlokes be? Might you said, why do we say that we give him the chumras of the place that he came from and the chumras of the place that he's going to. So why does he have to maintain the chumras of the place that he came from? If the whole issue is you don't want to be Mishanim Mipnei Machlekes, so then let him what's the problem? Let him work, because otherwise people are going to say, what do you mean you're not working? You're not working. That's not called chumrim. It's just you don't want to be Mishanim Mipnei Machlekes. Amar Abaye says, yeah, you're 100% right. Arisha, this whole principle of is only talking about the ratio. He's only talking about the case of going from a place that you do usually work to a place that you don't. Rav Amar says, no, it's the whole Mishnah, ratio and Sefer, the beginning and the end, in both cases. And this is what it's saying. And there's no concern with you keeping your chumrah because of machlokes. My kamat, what do you mean by this? What's the person that sees a person not working in a place that they usually work? They're going to say, what, malacha asura? That work is forbidden? You hold that work is forbidden. How could you say that it's forbidden? That's not okay. How could you say that it's forbidden? Meima Amri, what are they going to say? Look at this. How many people are unemployed in this place? Right? Look at these guys. We work here. This guy's not working. He's on vacation. He came a little early for the Pesach program. But they're not going to think that the reason that he's not working is because he holds that it's awesome. He says, Amar le Rav Safra Abba. Rav Safra said to Rabbi Abba, Gagan Ana. What about me? What about me? And this is a spicy sugya. Di'adin b'kviyasa di'archa. I know exactly when Yom Tov is. In Chutz La'aretz, we keep 2 days. We keep 2 days because we don't know when Yom Tov is, theoretically. We'll see. That changed. That's not officially true anymore. We do know when Yom Tov is. But, says Rav Safra to Rabbi Abba, I know when Yom Tov is. I know the Kviyas of the Archa. B'yishuv lo yavdina. When I am in an inhabited area, if I happen to be spending Yom Tov in Boca Raton, Florida, so that's b'yishuv lo yavdina. I would not work there. I wouldn't do any melacha because I don't want to change from the minhag hamakam. Because that's going to create machlokes. But b'midbar mai. What about when I'm in the desert? Nobody's around. Marley said to him, top of Nun Beis, Amud Aleph, Hachi Amar Rav Ami, says Rav Ami as follows: b'yishuv also b'midbar mutar. In the yishuv, it is also. In Boca Raton, Florida, it is also. But midbar mutter. But if you would be nicht in the middle of Kathmandu, Timbuktu, Tallahassee, I don't know, but there's no Jewish community, so mutter, because there'd be no issue of Shinui B'nai Machlekes and Be'ez Shem Yisbarach. We will continue with Nun Beis Amud Aleph tomorrow. Everybody should have a wonderful evening.